The roadside signs were cheap, laminated posters taped to fence posts. Arrows drawn in red marker. Dog auction today. Farm lot 7 noon. Eli Brooks wasn't planning to stop. He was just driving through the countryside. The truck humming quietly beneath his tired hands. Windows down. Sun leaking over the hills. He hadn't been to this part of the state in years. Not since the accident. Not since Max. He tapped the brake. The auction was up ahead. Curious voices. Scattered cars. Something pulled at him. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was the past refusing to stay buried. He turned in. The makeshift auction yard was a converted cattle corral, wooden pens. Old chairs. A folding table set up near a rickety podium. About 20 dogs sat in kennels or were chained to posts, some young, alert, eager, others old, ragged, resigned. The heat was high and dry. Dust clung to the air. Eli stepped out of his truck. His left knee tightening with the familiar ache. The injury still bothered him. Even 5 years later. 5 years since the warehouse explosion that ended his career on the force. 5 years since Max vanished. Max, his partner, his K9, the dog who'd saved his life pulling him from the wreckage before disappearing into smoke and chaos. Eli never found him, not a single lead. Until now. He didn't know what made him walk toward the far end of the corral. He just did. And then, he stopped. Pen 19. A German shepherd. Older, lean, with a faded coat and ragged ears. His fur was patchy, his stance stiff, but when he turned, and Eli met his eyes. Those eyes. One brown. One with a sliver of cloud in the iris, barely noticeable unless you knew what to look for. Eli knew. His heart stopped. Max. The dog tilted his head. Then, tentatively, cautiously, his tail gave a faint wag. A single thump against the dirt. Max. Is that you? No bark. Just a slow movement forward on the chain. The dog's nose worked the air. Then stopped. Their eyes locked again. Recognition. Undeniable. A moment passed between them that felt like years collapsing into seconds. Holy hell, Eli whispered. They found you. His hands trembled. He reached through the slats and touched the shepherd's head. The dog leaned into his palm. The chain clinked faintly. A familiar pressure swelled in Eli's throat. He hadn't cried in a long time. Not even when the doctors told him he'd never serve again. Not when they packed away Max's gear. Not even when the search went cold. But now, his knees went weak. This dog had dragged him through fire. And someone had chained him like junk. Hey, Eli turned sharply as a short man with a clipboard approached. His ball cap was soaked in sweat. Don't touch the merchandise unless you're a bidder. Where'd this dog come from? Eli asked, his voice hard. The man flipped through the pages. That shepherd came in through a guy from Missouri. Said the dog was trained but washed out. Been passed around a bit. Nobody wants old dogs. No bite left. Eli's jaw clenched. His name is Max. He was a K9. Medal of Valor. He saved 3 lives. Including mine. The man shrugged. Doesn't matter now. He's just another lot. Eli stepped closer. He's not for sale. "You gonna buy him?" the man snapped. "Because bidding starts in 15 minutes. I don't need to bid," Eli said. "That dog is mine." The man narrowed his eyes. "You got paperwork? Proof?" Eli hesitated. No, he didn't. Not after 5 years. Max had been presumed dead. Written off. His record closed. Before he could answer, another voice spoke. "Then I guess we'll see what he's worth." Eli turned. A tall man in a clean jacket and mirrored sunglasses stood 10 feet away. Calm, poised, Raymond Cruz. Eli had seen him once before during a trafficking investigation years ago. Nothing stuck. But the rumors around Cruz were oily and persistent. Raymond smiled faintly. "You seem emotionally invested. That's dangerous at auctions. What do you want with him?" Eli said sharply. Raymond pulled off his sunglasses, revealing eyes like polished slate. "Dogs like him still have uses. Guard work. Unregulated private handlers. If he obeys a few commands. He's more useful than most of the trash people breed these days." Eli took a step forward. "He's not going with you." Raymond tilted his head. "Then outbid me." The auction began on time. Eli stood in the front row. Hands shaking. Mind racing. He had no plan. He hadn't even brought enough cash. Raymond stood 2 rows back. Expression unreadable. Arms crossed. Max was brought out last. Lot 19. The handler called. Male German Shepherd. Older. Trained. No papers. Strong body. Clean temperament. Max stood still as the leash was held, his eyes scanning the crowd. Eli held his breath. Starting bid, $200. $250. Raymond said smoothly. $300. Eli counted instantly. $5. Raymond replied without pause. Eli turned to him. "You don't even want him. You just want to win. Winning is the only reason to play." Raymond said softly. $600. Eli barked. A pause. $7. Raymond offered casually. Eli's heart pounded. That was almost everything in his account. He'd retired early, lived modestly. There was money, but not much. $800. Eli said through clenched teeth. The auctioneer raised his eyebrows. $800 going once. Raymond waited. Going twice. $900. The word landed like a slap. Eli stared at him. "You're not getting him. Then go higher," Raymond said. Eli swallowed. Looked at Max. The old shepherd stood tall. His tail still. His chest rising slowly. He had given Eli everything. Now it was Eli's turn. 1,000. A long pause. Raymond adjusted his collar, thought about it, and then he smiled. "Sold," the auctioneer called, to the gentleman in front. Raymond tipped an imaginary hat. "Congratulations, officer," and he walked away. Minutes later, Eli knelt in the dirt, both hands on Max's scruffy neck. "I'm taking you home, boy." Max leaned forward, licking Eli's hand, ears flat, tail brushing the ground. "You're safe now." From behind him, a voice said, "You always did show up when it mattered." Eli turned. Angela, in jeans and a vet's coat. Her hair tied back, clipboard in hand. "Angela?" he said in disbelief. "I volunteer with rescues. she said. "Came to check the condition of some of these dogs. Didn't expect to see you. Didn't expect him." She knelt beside them, touched Max's ribs gently. "He's underweight, mild hip stiffness, but he's still got heart." Eli looked at her, then at Max. "So do I," he said. She smiled. "Then let's get him checked, cleaned, and back where he belongs." Eli nodded, his voice rough. Home. Eli had never felt smaller in his life. He stood amid the dusty auction crowd, one hand balled into a fist, the other gripping the edge of his wallet as if squeezing it could make more money appear. His mouth was dry, the chatter around him dimmed, and all he could focus on was the dog behind the wire pen, Max. His partner, his ghost, his miracle, and now, about to be sold. He had barely enough. His pension came monthly, barely covering the basics. After the injury, the department gave him a modest severance. Since then, he lived lean, small house. Fewer plans. He hadn't planned on this. He never thought he'd see Max again. And now, fate was charging him to buy back his own history. The auctioneer adjusted the mic. Lot 19. Adult male German Shepherd. No papers. But trained. Starting at 200. Before Eli could lift his hand, a slow, slick voice cut in. 250. Eli didn't have to look. Raymond Cruz, hands in his coat pockets, standing back casually like he was buying cattle. No emotion, just calculation. Eli's pulse kicked hard in his throat. 300, Eli said, voice tight. Raymond didn't blink. 450, 550. The crowd grew quieter. A few turned, whispering. Bidders began stepping back. This wasn't about the dog anymore. They could see that now. This was something personal. Eli stepped forward, eyes locked on Max. The old dog had lifted his head. His tail gave a slow thump. Then, almost instinctively, he placed one paw against the kennel gate. He wasn't barking, wasn't panicking, but he was waiting. 600, 750, Eli said. Raymond smirked. 850. Eli felt the bottom of his wallet in his hand. He could stretch it, maybe once more. 900. Raymond raised one eyebrow, as if mildly inconvenienced. Then he said it. 1,200. Gasps rose from the crowd. Eli's breath caught. That was it. That was more than he had. Way more. He couldn't go higher. The auctioneer looked toward him. Any advance? Eli stepped back. His eyes burned. Max stood, now pacing slightly in his pen. Tail stiff, ears up. His eyes never left Eli. He pressed his paw again to the gate, faster this time. Whining, like he knew, like he was begging. Going once. Eli closed his eyes. Going twice. His throat tightened. Sold. The auctioneer barked. To bidder number 42. Raymond. Eli didn't move. Didn't blink. He watched helplessly as two handlers moved toward the pen and unchained Max. The dog hesitated, pulled slightly toward the crowd, toward Eli. But the leash held. Come on, one man said. Trucks this way. Raymond stood nearby, hands behind his back like a satisfied general. as they led Max toward the black transport van. The old shepherd looked back over his shoulder again and again, ears flat. Steps reluctant. His body was trembling, just enough for someone who knew him to see. "Let him go," Eli muttered. "He's not yours." Raymond turned. "He is now." Eli took one step forward. But Angela grabbed his arm. "Not like this," she said. Eli's voice dropped. "Horse. He saved me. He's not a thing to sell." Raymond smiled without warmth. "Then maybe you should have valued him more." He turned away and climbed into the passenger side of the transport truck. The door slammed shut. Max was lifted in. He didn't resist. But his eyes locked on Eli until the door closed. Then he was gone. Eli stood frozen for a long time after the van drove off. The crowd dispersed slowly, muttering, some looking back at him with pity, others shaking their heads. Angela was still there, phone in hand. She'd seen enough. Without a word, she tapped the screen, uploaded the footage, and typed, "This is Max. He once saved a police officer's life in an explosion. Today, his former handler tried to buy him back after years of separation. He couldn't afford it. Max was sold to a man rumored to traffic dogs for illegal training." She paused, then added the title, "The Dog Who Saved a Life, Now Auctioned Like Trash." And she posted it. Hashtag Bring Max Home. Hashtag Not For Sale. Within 10 minutes, it had 10 shares. By sunset, it would have 10,000. The sun had barely set when Angela's post began to ripple. At first, it was just a few hundred shares, local folks, retired officers, animal rescue groups. Then it hit a nerve somewhere deeper. By 9 p.m., the hashtag Bring Max Home was trending on Twitter. By 11, TikTok was flooded with duets and reaction videos of people watching the footage, the old dog lifting his paw, Eli's helpless expression, Max being led away by handlers like a forgotten tool. The title alone broke hearts. The Dog Who Saved His Handler, sold to the highest bidder. People commented in thousands. "This is gutting. He's not just a dog. He's a hero. Someone buy him back now." By midnight, a well-known animal rights influencer reposted the video. Then a former police canine handler stitched his own story onto it. Talking about loyalty and sacrifice. That clip alone hit 1.3 million views overnight. At 1 a.m., a military vet commented, "This isn't right. Where do we send money?" Angela had already set it up. The GoFundMe page was basic. Help Eli bring Max home. The goal was modest, $5 to start. Enough, they figured, to cover the last auction price. Transport, legal fees. In 6 hours, it crossed $10. By dawn, it had hit $30. Eli didn't sleep. He sat at his kitchen table in the quiet dark, the only light coming from his phone screen as notifications poured in, messages from strangers, former colleagues, even one from a firefighter who remembered seeing him and Max during a joint rescue operation a decade ago. One message stood out. "You gave him everything. Let us help give him back." He scrolled through photos of Max from the past, training in the field. riding shotgun in the cruiser, curled up on the station floor. So many memories. All of them felt close again. Real, like Max had never left. But he had. And now, maybe, he didn't have to stay gone. At 8:14 a.m., Eli's phone rang. He hesitated, then answered. "This is Brooks." "Mr. Brooks," came a crisp voice. "This is Linda Carter from the county legal department. We've reviewed the footage circulating online. You were Max's original registered handler. Correct?" "Yes. He was my partner until 2018. We're aware of your case. There's now significant public attention on this incident. And the sheriff's office is getting heat from every angle, including state legislators. I've spoken with the county commissioner. We're prepared to grant you a second chance to reclaim Max." Eli straightened in his chair. "What do you mean? A re-auction? A formal one? No backroom deals? No third-party intermediaries? The dog is still in county custody for 24 more hours before he's handed over to the last buyer. If you're able to match or exceed the final bid of $1.200, with proof of funds and proper documentation, you can reclaim Max legally." Eli exhaled slowly. "You're serious?" "We're very serious. The public isn't letting this go. And honestly, neither should we." There was a pause. Then she added, a little more softly, "He should go home." Eli's voice was thick. "Yes, yes, he should." By 10 a.m., Eli stood in Angela's clinic office, staring at the GoFundMe page with disbelief. $33,000, he said. Angela gave him a crooked smile. "I guess people love a good dog. You set this up?" "I just hit upload. The internet did the rest." She handed him an envelope. "Here, full printout of the fundraiser summary. With the initial draw already approved. Cashier's check for the full amount you'll need to bid. Legal teams ready to support if anything goes sideways." Eli looked at her. "You saved him," he said. Angela shook her head. "He saved you. This is just the world catching up." He stared at the check. "I never imagined it'd come to this. A dog auction, a bidding war, viral videos. What happened to just doing the right thing?" Angela's voice dropped. "Sometimes the right thing needs a little help going viral." By noon, the local press had picked up the story. By 2 p.m., Eli received a call from a national news producer asking for an interview. He declined. There was only one thing that mattered now. At 4 p.m., the county held a closed-door re-auction in a quiet administrative office near the Animal Services facility. No crowd, no Raymond Cruz, just Eli, 2 legal observers, and Max, standing in the corner. Ears perked, eyes on the door. When Eli walked in, Max gave a single, quiet bark. It was more than enough. Eli knelt beside him, rubbed his neck, then turned to the auction officer. "I'm here to bid." The re-auction took exactly 6 minutes. There was no opposing bidder. Just a signature, and a silent oath fulfilled. Max was his again. Outside the building, a small crowd had gathered. Supporters, animal rescue volunteers, 3 high school kids holding handmade signs that read, "Max is home. Dogs are family. #BringMaxHome." Max stepped out onto the sidewalk beside Eli. His old harness freshly cleaned. Collar shining in the sun. He paused at the top of the steps. Sniffed the air. Then looked up at Eli with eyes that had never forgotten. Eli gripped the leash gently. "I've got you, partner." Max wagged his tail. The crowd clapped. A few people wiping tears from their eyes. Somewhere in the distance, someone started chanting the hashtag. It caught on. "Bring Max home," again and again. Max didn't bark. He just stood tall, a little older, a little slower, but still proud, still a hero. And finally, home. The van was already gone. By the time Eli reached the animal services facility with the legal paperwork and cashier's check in hand, the clerk's expression told him everything. "I'm sorry," she said, wringing her hands. "The transfer order went through early this morning. The buyer picked up the dog at dawn. He didn't wait for the re-auction." Eli's jaw clenched. "You mean Raymond Cruz?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. He turned, pacing. Max was in that van. Somewhere on the road, heading toward God knew what. Raymond didn't buy dogs for companionship. His name had long circled investigations involving illegal canine training, using working dogs for black market security, intimidation, even bomb work, without regulation or care. Eli had heard whispers. Now he was watching it happen in real time. He pulled out his phone and dialed. "Mason, it's Eli. I need you now." Officer Mason Lee, 28 and tech-savvy, didn't hesitate. He'd grown up hearing stories about Eli and Max, how they'd pulled 3 hostages from a collapsing warehouse, how Max once cornered a gunman in a parking garage without backup. Now the legend needed help. "I'm in," Mason said. Within 20 minutes, they were back in Eli's truck, heading east along the highway. Angela had already sent traffic cam footage posted by social media followers tracking a black, windowless van with Missouri plates. One video showed Max looking out the rear vents, just a glimpse, but Eli recognized that face instantly. "We've got a 6-hour lead to make up," Mason said, watching the GPS screen update with every new tag. "Looks like the van exited the interstate near Red Creek. Probably to avoid way stations." "Red Creek," Eli muttered. "That puts him near the state line." "Exactly. If he gets across, we'll need a federal warrant. And it'll take longer to process the custody transfer." Eli's hands tightened on the wheel. "We're not letting him cross." The highway blurred by. Mason coordinated with animal rights volunteers and traffic monitoring hobbyists who had taken the Internet campaign to heart. Every gas station and rest stop east of Red Creek was flooded with posts. "Seen this van? Tag us with #FindMaxNow." One woman sent a tip within the hour. Van matching the pic just pulled into a rest stop on Route 72. Parked by the trucker section. Driver's a tall guy in a jacket. Not friendly. Dog inside. Looks sad. Mason relayed the coordinates to dispatch. Then turned to Eli. "That's our shot." Eli pressed harder on the gas. They arrived at Silver Pine Rest Area just before noon. The air was thick with diesel fumes and the low growl of idling trucks. Cars pulled in and out of parking spots, unaware of the quiet tension building at the edge of the lot. Then Mason spotted it. Black van, south corner, Missouri plates. Eli saw it too, shadows behind the glass. They pulled up carefully, Eli parking across the lot near the vending machines. No sudden moves, no escalation. He stepped out, trying to control the adrenaline pounding in his chest. He walked straight toward the van. Halfway there, the driver's door opened. Raymond Cruz stepped out slowly. Calmly, he didn't look surprised. "Well," he said, voice flat, "that was faster than I expected. You took him before the paperwork was finished." Eli said, "You knew we'd come for him." Raymond tilted his head. "And you knew the rules when you walked into that auction. No refunds, no rewinds. Things changed. He's mine now, legally." Raymond glanced past Eli. "Doesn't look like you brought the law with you." But then, from behind the vending machines, a patrol cruiser pulled in fast, tires crunching the gravel. Another followed from the opposite direction. 2 state troopers stepped out, one holding a clipboard. Raymond's smirk faltered. Eli turned slightly as Officer Ramirez, the lead trooper, approached. "We have updated transfer orders. Signed and confirmed by the county commissioner," Ramirez said, handing over a file. "Ownership of the canine in your possession has been legally reassigned to Eli Brooks. All funds are accounted for." Raymond opened the file, scanned it. His mouth twitched. "This is a mistake." "No," Ramirez said. "This is a correction." Mason walked to the back of the van, opened the rear doors. Inside, Max sat in a crate, silent, ears drooping. But the moment he saw Eli, he stood. The crate rattled as he pawed the gate. Eli dropped to his knees, opening the latch, and Max leapt out into his arms, tail whipping, head pressed hard against Eli's chest. "You're okay," Eli whispered, hugging him tight. "You're coming home." Max licked his chin. The world faded for a moment. It was just them again, dog and handler. Broken once, whole again now. Raymond stood a few feet away, watching with unreadable eyes. "You're wasting him," he said quietly. Eli turned. "No, you were." He clipped the leash onto Max's collar. "And that's over now." Raymond didn't fight. He didn't argue. He just walked to his van, retrieved a cigarette, and leaned on the bumper while the officers completed paperwork. Later, he would be flagged in an ongoing investigation into illegal dog training and trafficking, prompted by a tip that started with Angela's video. But for now, he faded into the background, irrelevant. The real story was walking back toward the truck. Max, head high. Eli, hand on his leash. Mason smiled as they approached. "You know, I never thought I'd see a K9 reunion go viral." Eli chuckled. "Neither did I." He opened the door, and Max climbed into the passenger seat like he'd never left it. For a moment, Eli just stood there, looking at him. "I should have found you sooner," he said. Max rested his head on Eli's arm. The answer was clear. "You came. That's enough." The sun was setting by the time they made it back to the little house on the hill. The same one Eli had retreated to after the explosion, The same quiet place he once believed would be the end of his story. Now, it was the beginning of something else. Max lay curled on the passenger seat. His head nestled against Eli's side. His fur was a little thinner. His breaths deeper and slower. But the tension had left his body. For the first time in years. Max looked at peace. Eli parked and opened the door. The old shepherd climbed down carefully. Sniffed the porch like he remembered it. His tail wagged gently. Eli opened the front door. "Welcome home, partner." Max stepped inside first. As he always had. The house hadn't changed much. Wood floors. Worn furniture. A fireplace Eli rarely used until now. But somehow, with Max there again, the silence felt less empty. Eli dropped Max's leash and watched him wander slowly from room to room. Pausing at the hallway where his old crate used to sit. The edge of the couch he was never supposed to climb on but always did when Eli was away. He settled in the corner near the window, where the sun hit in the afternoon, and lay down with a soft groan. Eli knelt beside him, ran a hand gently down his back. "You did good, boy, better than good. You found your way back." Max lifted his head slightly and pressed it into Eli's chest. His eyes fluttered. His breath was slow. But he was home, and he knew it. In the days that followed, Eli took his time adjusting. So did Max. They walked every morning, short, easy loops around the property. The town had changed, grown a little, but out here, the trees were still the same. The air still smelled of pine and earth. Angela dropped by often, bringing Max's supplements and a new orthopedic bed she insisted he needed. Mason brought over a security camera system, just in case. Supporters from all over sent letters, treats, even artwork. One kid from Oregon mailed in a crayon drawing of Max titled, "The Dog Who Came Back." Eli hung it over the fireplace. But more than anything, he thought about the others. The dogs not found. The ones not as lucky. It started with one message. A woman from Ohio emailed Eli, asking if he could help her retrain an older Labrador she'd rescued from a hoarding case. The dog didn't respond to commands. Flinched at loud sounds. Didn't trust men. Eli read the message twice. Then looked down at Max. Dozing by the heater. "I think we've got work to do again," he said. Max opened one eye, tail twitching once. 2 months later, the first training pen was built in the backyard. A simple enclosed space with shade and turf. Then came a second pen. Then a kennel shelter. Eli poured every extra dollar from the fundraiser into materials and permits. Angela helped with health assessments. Mason rewired the garage as a media room for consultations and intake. Max, he watched it all unfold from his usual spot by the window. Like a quiet supervisor. Sometimes, when a new dog arrived, frightened, tensed, Max would get up, walk over, and just sit nearby, not too close, not threatening, just present. It was enough. In time, they called it the Second Chance Canine Project, a sanctuary for retired working dogs, abandoned service animals, and rescues with potential. Dogs that had been discarded. Like Max almost was. Dogs that just needed someone to believe in them. And Max was their first success. Their founder in fur. One morning, Eli filmed a short video. He stood beside Max, the old shepherd, resting his head on Eli's boot as the sun rose behind them. 5 years ago, I thought I'd lost him. I thought Max was gone forever. Then I found him again, chained, forgotten, labeled, too old to be useful. But Max wasn't broken. He was waiting. He paused. And now we're building something for others like him. He panned the camera slowly, showing the pens, the flags, the new dogs watching curiously. Because a good dog is never just a tool. And loyalty like this. He looked down. Max lifted his head and rested it across Eli's lap. This never gets old. He posted the video with the caption, "Thank you, from both of us. You didn't just bring Max home. You helped bring hope to dozens more like him." The video exploded. Hundreds of thousands of views. Veterans sent messages. Former handlers reached out. Adoption requests tripled. But through all the noise, the image that resonated most, shared across every platform, turned into prints, shirts, stickers, was one still frame from the video. Max, head resting on Eli's leg, eyes half closed, trusting, loyal, forever. A caption beneath it read, "He never left. He just waited to be found." That night, as the sun set over the quiet hills, Eli sat on the porch. Max was beside him, head on his foot. A breeze moved through the trees. Somewhere down the road, another car was coming, another dog arriving tomorrow. But tonight, it was quiet, peaceful. Max shifted, pressing against Eli's side. Eli smiled. "Yeah," he whispered, "we're home now."
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please comment 1. And if you didn't, just hit like. See you in the next videos.